Hey y'all, I'm back again with Woman of the Bible. Hope I'm saying the name right. Is Bathsheba. Her character, her beauty made her victim to kings' desires. Though it is difficult to discern her true character, she seems to have found the courage to endure tragedy, winning the king's confidence and eventually securing the kingdom for her son Solomon. Her sorrows to have been molested by a supposedly godly man who then murdered her husband, to have suffered the loss of one of her sons. Her joy to have given birth to five sons, one of whom became king of Israel after David's death. Her story, Bathsheba squeezed the sponge, moving it rhythmically across her body as though to calm the restless cadence of her thoughts. Normally, she looked forward to the ritual bath marking the end of her monthly period. But tonight, the water soothed her skin without refreshing her spirit. She should be glad for the cool breeze, for the full flowers, for a lush harvest, but spring could also yield its cross of sorrows as well. Hold up, as she well knew. Spring was the season for armies and battles. Once the rain has ceased and the harvest has been gathered, men marched off to war, leaving their women behind. Bathsheba shivered as she stood up, though her husband, Uriah, was a seasoned soldier. She still worried about him, wishing she could fall asleep in his arms. But he was camped with the rest of the king's army beneath the open skies of Raven and fortress some 40 miles north of Jerusalem. The king rose from his bed, unable to sleep, pacing across the palace roof. He gazed at the city below. Jerusalem seems calm, a city as peace with itself, though as at war with its neighborhood. Soon his soldiers would gather a great harvest of Ammonite captives, labors for his expanded kingdom. The casual overseer might have thought David a man of peace with his growing power. Instead, the king could not quiet an increasing sense of discontent. Then, in the half light, David noticed the figure of a young woman framed in the window of a house below him. He leaned against the outer edge of the roof for a closer view. Wet hair curling against skin white as lamb wool, breasts like round apples. He reached as though to steal a touch. Unaware of his glaze, the woman toweled herself dry and then stepped away from the window. He waited and watched, but even the king could not see through the walls. Over the next few days, David made inquiries and discovered that the vision had a name. She was Bathsheba, the wife of one of his soldiers, Uriah, the Hittite. He sent for her. She came to him. He slept with her, and she became pregnant with his child. Fearing the discovery, the king ordered Uriah home from battle. But the soldier surprised him by refusing to spend the night with his wife. The ark and the Israel and Judah are staying in tents, and my Lord's men are camped in the open fields. How could I go to my house to eat and drink and lie with my wife? As surely as you live, I would not do such a thing. But David convinced Uriah to spend another day in Jerusalem, managed to get him drunk. Surely the wine will overcome his scruples, but it didn't. So David played his last cards, entrusting Bathsheba's husband with a letter to Joab, commander of the army. It read, "Put Uriah in front of the line where the fighting is furious. Then withdraw him so he will be struck down dead." So Uriah drive by treachery, and David claimed Bathsheba as his wife, her child as his own. One day the prophet Nathan approached David, saying, "There were two men in a certain town, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had a very large number of sheep and cattle, but the poor man had nothing except one little ewe lamb he had bought. He raised it, and it grew up with him and his children. It shared his food, drank from his cup, and even slept in his arms. It was like a daughter to him. Now a traveler came to the rich man, but the rich man refrained from taking one of his own sheep or cattle to prepare a meal for the traveler who had come to him. Instead, he took the ewe lamb that belonged to the poor man and prepared it for the one who had come to him. David was incensed. As surely as the Lord lives, the man who did this deserved to die. He must pay for that lamb 4 times over because he did such a thing and had no pity. Then Nathan said to David, "You are the man. This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. I anoint you king over Israel, and I deliver you from the hands of Saul. I gave your master's house to you, and your master's wives into your arms. I gave you the house of Israel and Judah. And if all this had been too little, I would have given you even more. Why did you despise the word of the Lord by doing that what is evil in his eyes? You struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and took his wife to be your own. Now therefore the sword will never depart from your house." David's lust for Bathsheba marked the beginning of his long decline. Though God forgave him, he still suffered the consequences of his wrongdoing. His sins was a whirlpool that dragged others in its swirling path. And despite David's prayers and pleading, God allowed the son David had conceived with Bathsheba to die from an illness. But why did Bathsheba have to suffer, along with the man who molested her and murdered her husband? Though the story gives us little insights into her true color, it is hardly likely that Bathsheba was in a position to refuse the king. In Nathan's parable, in fact, she is depicted as an innocent lamb. Why then have so many people painted her as a seductress? Perhaps Bathsheba, innocent, is too painful to face. That a good person can suffer with tragedies, especially at the hands of a godly person, appalls us. Worse yet, God punishes both David and Bathsheba by taking their son. If we can believe that Bathsheba had an affair with David, we can accept her suffering more easily. Her guilt makes David's sin seem less grieved and God's punishment less cruel. Though Bathsheba may not have understood the reason for her suffering, God gave her favor with King David, making her both a powerful queen and the mother of David's successor, Solomon, who became famous for his great wisdom. Okay, y'all, that's it. Bye, my reactors.